Hey, it's Maddie and Julia with the little Marital Wasabi. We think investing in your marriage is a lot like wasabi. A little bit goes a long way. And today we want to invite you to consider 2 ingredients when it comes to the necessary task of having healthy and helpful conversations with your spouse.
In these times where it's really stressful and there's a lot of uncertainty, we know that investing a little bit in your marriage can really be beneficial, enabling you to have conversations together that are helpful and where you feel known and where you feel understood.
Yeah, so we're using the language of ingredients because we want you to think about a cup of coffee. So there are some people who like their coffee straight black.
And there's others out there who like to add some things to their coffee, like cream and sugar and spices and flavors.
That's right. And if we're honest, both of those people can look at the other and say, I cannot believe that you drink your coffee like that. You only drink it black, or you're looking and thinking, why don't you just drop a roll of Lifesavers in there as well, you know? And we can do the same when it comes to the ingredients in a conversation. And so this is what we'd like for you to think, that straight black coffee is like those who have a preference for and are led by objectivity. That's facts and thoughts and conclusions.
And those who like to add a little cream and sugar and flavor and spice to their coffee would be those who are led more with subjectivity, your emotions, your feelings, and your perceptions of things.
And it's normal and completely fine to have a preference for objectivity or subjectivity. That's just at the heart of our design.
That's right.
The problem comes, especially in having conversations, when at the end of the day we really don't value the other. And so we'll tell you how this plays out in our marriage, because it has ruined many a conversation. So there are some times where Julia just needs room to talk.
There's a lot of times when Julia needs room to talk.
She just needs to share her feelings. She needs to talk about her fears. And that's what she needs, just room to talk.
And when Matt's not mindful of this, his tendency can be to kind of shut me down. He wants to tell me why all the facts or the statistics of why I don't need to feel that way, why I don't need to waste my energy and my emotions, because the facts actually disagree with those emotions.
We were just raking leaves yesterday, and I did that very effectively. There's no reason you should feel like that.
Or that's not actually true, because that type of scenario.
And you could imagine it just shuts the conversation down.
And now there's also sometimes when Matt needs to have the freedom to be able to just share his thoughts on something, to be able to communicate what he learned about the statistics, and the freedom to talk about his opinion on the actual things that are happening.
Yeah, and when Julia's not mindful of that, she can quickly jump in with why my thoughts and facts sound so insensitive and cold. And she'll say things like, you're talking like everything's normal. Aren't you listening? And
And sometimes I just kind of think it's boring when he's sharing those things. I'm like, well, what does that really have to do with my life if those are the numbers that are happening, or that's what that person said about that situation, and I'm not valuing his actual experience of the situation.
Yeah. And so here's the bottom line. Sometimes our spouse just needs freedom to share their feelings without being corrected.
And sometimes our spouse needs the freedom to be able to share their thoughts without being condemned.
Yeah. And so when you give room for both ingredients, when you give room in the marital conversation for fact and feeling, for thought and emotion, we think you create a dynamic that honors the breadth of human experience. And we feel free to say that because as a man and woman of faith, we believe God's demonstrated He values the objectivity and the subjectivity. So we're going to end with a verse that we've been thinking a lot about, and it connects. It's Psalm 62:8. The first half of it says this: trust in the Lord at all times. So that's timeless truth, objectivity, but it doesn't stop there.
And also says, it continues with pour out your heart before him. That's timely emotions. That would be where the subjectivity comes in.
So think about this. We see that God invites us to objectivity, trust him at all times, and subjectivity, talk to him, pour out your heart. They're not at odds, and they have a place in the marital conversation.
That's right. So what does your spouse need from you in order to be known?
Do they just need room to talk and share their feelings without being corrected?
Or do they need freedom to share their thoughts without being condemned?
Yeah. Those are the ingredients for a great conversation. Give objectivity and subjectivity. Hope you guys are well. Stay safe.